What's up, everybody? My name's Big Cam and welcome back to another A Night of the Seven Kingdoms breakdown. And today we are breaking down episode 3 titled The Squire. And why is it titled that? Oh wait, because we're gonna find out who the Squire really is this episode. And that is Egg, and his identity will become revealed by the end of this episode. So can't wait for it. Let's jump right on into it, folks. But we're coming off of episode 2, where we saw Sir Arlen's large member, if you know, you know, and where Dunk found someone who knew Sir Arlen in Lord Baelor Targaryen, but Dunk's gonna need a new sigil in armor now that he's in the tourney, so he has to sell his favorite horse, Sweetfoot, for coin to be able to pay for the armor. So no turning back for our boy Dunk, and he's going to win this tournament in honor of his late Sir Arlen of Pennytree. And he was pissed off at the end of last episode, but we open this episode on Dunk asleep and Egg sitting next to him, staring at him and imitating a horse noise as the title card, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, pops up in white with black lettering. And I was just like, kind of regal. But Egg decided to wake up early and get some practice in. So he takes the horse and the sword, and he takes the warhorse Thunder, and he is talking to the horse, and he's trying to see if himself and the horse has what it takes to squire for Sir Dunk. And he's trying to get some practice in for himself in the horse, because the horse is also a old, stubborn warhorse, and he wants the horse to also perform their best for Sir Duncan in this tournament. So Egg's practicing holding the jousting spear, and he's like, you know, Lance, here you go, Sir Duncan. And he's like running across the field and barefoot. And apparently in the making of little after video I watched, apparently 12-year-old or 9-year-old Dexter is running through sheep shit. And the writer of this episode was very happy that they got a shot of the camera and the horse was looking directly into camera as it took a shit, and she was like, that felt like a gift from the gods. And I was like, oh wow, just a simple shot of the horse shitting, and she's so happy with herself. But as Egg was practicing, and it seemed the practice actually went quite well, and he's confident now that the horse in himself will be able to help out Sir Duncan, and some man walks up and sees this young little boy with the sword and a horse and nobody else around, and he's like, did you steal that? Be honest, we'll be fair. And Egg's like, the guy's like, what happened to your hair? And he goes, fuck happened to your eye? And he's like, oh shit, this is a snippy little kid. But Egg then realizes that he's talking to Sir Robin Riesling. He says that he's the maddest knight in the Seven Kingdoms, and he has one eye, which we see he lost in a tournament himself, and the eye was hanging out, and he's just like, ah! And you're like, holy shit, this guy's a fuck. But at least Egg says that he's the maddest man in the kingdoms, but Sir Robin says, we are but a vessel for the warrior, and the warrior is one of the 7 gods that they worship in the 7 kingdoms. And he says, when it is madness bid, it is madness delivered. But Sir Robin says, you're small for a squire. And Egg says, I serve Sir Duncan the Tall, he is large enough for the both of us. And Sir Robin's like, I've never heard of him. And Egg's like, you will! So I wonder if this guy will come back and Sir Robin will be somebody that Dunk faces. Or maybe we find out a little bit later in the episode that today is the highborn and renowned knights. Is like anybody that's renowned or highborn gets brought to the list today to fight or whatever, or just like say that they're declaring for the tournament. But Dunk is all nervous because he thinks that he's going today, but he's not highborn or renowned, so no, he is not today, he's tomorrow. But Egg goes back to camp, and Dunk's all bitter that he left without telling him, and he's like, eat that salt beef, and he's like, I don't want the salt beef, I'd rather eat the horse. And he's like, shut up or you'll get a punch in the mouth. And so he's bitter at him, but then Dunk lightens up, and then he goes and teaches Egg how to stitch a patch, which I think is what, just patching up a hole in clothing or something. And they are like bonding. So Egg's like, sir, is it weird I have black hair growing from my stones? And Dunk's like, it's weird you're telling me, as they're like petting or like brushing the horse, and Egg's like, oh, well, I'll just carry on then. We'll just ignore that I just said that. So it seems Egg is 9 years old, but he's getting his first pube, and he has nobody to talk to. So he's like, sir, Is it weird that I have hair growing out of my stones? Oh God, he's 9 years old, but some of the things that Dexter delivers in this show as lines that Egg delivers, so perfect. And like, he's like, I don't swear, but I say them for my work because this is work and this is what I do. He's like real professional. Like he's the most professional 9-year-old I've ever seen in my life. Like. But then they go back to camp, and like I said, Dunk was throwing up all morning and thinking that he's entering the list. But of course, Egg knows more than him and explains to him that, no, today is for highborns and renowned knights, you're tomorrow. So then, I guess Dunk doesn't have to worry about getting his armor ready for today. So Dunk goes to town and gets a couple of goose eggs, and he makes a fool of himself in front of Tansel. And he's like, the guy was just going to chop the head off the goose. And he's like, no, goose eggs, goose, they lay eggs, goose eggs. He gets the eggs, and as he gets them, Tansel's walking by, like, watching him do all this, and he's like, you like eggs? And she's like, your shield will be ready later today, sir. And he's like, sure, thanks. And then Egg is like, sees this happen and teases him, and he's like, ooh, and Dunk's like, shut up. But I was like, oh my goodness, these two are fucking comical as hell. I love them so much. But then they go back to camp and they make a great looking egg sandwich that I actually have a video of. And the showrunner was like, I just wanted that egg sandwich to look so good. And like, it kind of did, the way that they were cooking it on the pan right there. I was like, damn, were they actually cooking right there? And then they break open the eggs. It's just giant dinosaur-sized yolks in that goose egg. I was like, oh my God, that looks delicious. And it looks like they have pretty much like a, salt beef, egg and cheese type thing here. Maybe no cheese, but friggin' make a little egg sandwich nonetheless, which is my favorite food. I don't know about y'all. I'm a big breakfast guy, and then when it comes to an egg sandwich, you can't really fail with an egg sandwich, really, unless you completely screw it up. But burn the toast, overcook the egg. I mean, it's not that hard to make a good egg sandwich. But I thought it was very sweet here that our boy Dunk, knew Egg wasn't going to eat just salt beef anymore, so he decided to go get him some eggs and make him a real hearty breakfast. And as they're biting into that breakfast sandwich, I was like, those look pretty good. I would go for it. And I was watching this at like 1 in the morning last night, and I was hungry. I was like, damn, I could go for that breakfast sandwich. I'll tell you what. And after their sandwich, they go to one of the tournament jousts, and Eggs and Dunk are cheering along, and they're like teasing each other. And he's like, oh, would you like some more salt beef? And he goes, oh, I'm Egg. I can't eat anything except for posh food and nice grapes and ooh. And like, I just thought it was so funny because Peter said that he has a younger brother that he is very close with. So, the bonding with a young Dexter is very easy for him. But I thought it was so cute to see them like teasing each other, and we're only 3 episodes in, but clearly they have bonded so much so. And like, even through all the press tours, you can see Peter and Dexter together and how really little brother big bro they are through the entire thing, and in the showrunner Ira Parker pointed out that like this whole episode, it's kind of funny because Egg is the little kid, and Dunk's supposed to be a grown man, but it's literally little kid, big kid, like they're just 2 kids hanging out. They're not like, they're on different wavelengths, and if anything, the young, small kid is smarter than the big kid, so it's like, they're both kind of on the same level, which I love, and they're just bonding and being very cute together. But then Dunk and Egg bond more on the side of a hill, and they're looking over the tournament, and Egg's like, after the tourney, you'll let me squire for you, right? And he goes, well, if I lose my first joust, I'll hardly be a knight. But just as he's about to say, if I win the tournament, sure, you can stay on as my squire, he gets interrupted by the Master of Games. And the Master of Games has a proposition for Sir Dunk and says, hey, come with me. And they're like walking through the middle of the woods. And he's like, listen, I don't want you to think that this is in jest of me to say, but Lord Ashford of Ashford Meadows has overspent on this party. So there's some people that would like to make you a reward. And at first Dunk hears this and he's like, I don't have any coin. And he's like, as surprising as that may be, I'm not here to rob you, but reward you. And he goes, reward? So he says, Dunk, if you were to unhorse the Lord of Ashford Meadows' son, Sir Andro, and not Andrew, A-N-D-R-O-W, Andro, and that's why he's such a prick, because he couldn't spell Andrew correctly, Andro, and he says if he unhorses Andro, that the bet for the unlikely opponent would put a lot of coin into a lot of people's pockets, and Dunk says he doesn't want to win a joust that he didn't earn. He goes, I don't want a victory I did not earn, and he's like, oh, come on, but didn't you earn it? I mean, wouldn't you be good just to do what you're already gonna do anyways? Just unhorse the man, would you? Come on. And so this is the deal for Sir Dunk here, but he still kind of feels wrong about it. He doesn't agree to it necessarily, but he's like, I'm gonna be in it anyway, so I might as well unhorse the motherfucker and make some coin out of it. And the guy's like, hey, you won't have to sleep under a tree anymore, an old elder tree. And he goes, it's an elm. And he's like, the elm tree. So sorry. But as he's like talking to the Master of Games, we hear a horn go off. And it's for Prince Aerion Brightflame Targaryen's joust. And Brightflame's helmet and cape look really cool, but he's a prick. And clearly Egg thinks so too, because as they're charging in the first joust, he's like, kill him! And at first I was like, which one is he talking about? But then you realize, you're like, no, Egg hates his brother? Cousin? Maybe we'll find out. Oh. But I did think that it was interesting when Bright Flame rides up. At first, he looks at his cousin, who is Baelor Targaryen's son, and he thinks that, oh, maybe he's going to challenge Targaryen versus Targaryen, but then he ends up challenging somebody else. But I have a video of this.
Cousin? Not to worry, I won't embarrass you today.
Not to worry, I won't embarrass you today. And then he goes, come out, little knight, talking to the one that he's going to face. But even like Egg looks like, what? Targaryen versus Targaryen? What is he playing at? But Aerion Brightflame, he's a bit of a hothead and a loser, but you can see his shield. He's got that Targaryen symbol, and he's got a pretty badass set of armor, but the cape also looks really cool, but only if this guy wasn't a severe fucking prick. But once they start jousting, they charge at each other. Egg's like, kill him! But Brightflame dodges the first pass, and then on the second pass, Dunk sees, oh, he's aiming too low, and he's not even aiming for the guy, and he just spears with the lance the horse, killing the horse, and it falls on top of the rider, probably killing the knight, and if not, just crushing his leg, so he'll be useless. But all the people of Ashford are also pissed at this, you know, unknightly display, and it's just not an honorable act here that Brightflame does, killing a horse. Like, what? You kill the guy, no problem. Everyone will be like, alright, it happens. But you kill the horse. The horses are useful, you know? Like, you just a piece of shit prince here. Aerion Brightflame, bastard. But as, like, everything's going to shit and the horse is on the ground squealing as they're about to, like, finish it off and put it out of its misery, Egg's like, oh, we should get the hell out of here. And Dunk's like, that was pretty gruesome back there, but a squire needs to be strong. I may befall a mishap in my tournament, and you'll have to take care of me. And Egg's like, that was no mishap, knowing exactly what Brightflame was doing. And, you know, even Dunk's like, yeah, you might not be wrong, but it starts to rain, and we cut over to the Baratheon tent, where Sir Lionel Baratheon, the Laughing Knight, I was calling him in the previous videos, but he's actually the Laughing Storm, which the Laughing Storm, the Laughing Knight, oh well, you guys knew what I meant. But the Laughing Storm is singing a ditty, and Dunk and Egg are discussing the song, and I think the song is about Alice Rivers, who we see in House of the Dragon, but it could just be somebody else named Alice as well, with the last name Rivers, which is a bastard last name, like Snow or Rivers or whatever. And Alice Rivers, I believe, is who the song's about, and it's about pleasuring men's bums. And they're like, did she really pleasure men's bums so well that they made a song about her? And like, they're discussing it. I just was like, just funny how we see Duncan and Egg chatting and becoming close, and how close they really are getting throughout this episode, which makes the ending of this episode hurt all that much more for Dunk. But Dunk and Egg are then walking through the town, and a woman stops them and says, "May I tell you your fortune?" And Dunk says, "Sure." And she says, "You will have great success and be richer than a Lannister." And Dunk just shrugs it off like it doesn't mean anything, and then says, "Okay, do the boy now." And Egg looks up like, "Oh, I've never had my fortune told." And this woman looks at Egg and says, "You shall be king." And then goes on and says, "You will die in hot fire, and worms shall feed upon your ashes, and all who know you shall rejoice in your dying." And Egg's like, "What?" And like he gives her a coin, and Dunk laughs it off like it's nothing. And Egg's like, "Why would she say that?" But Dunk's just like, "Yeah, it's nothing. It could be the truth." And Dunk just doesn't think anything of it. But I think this was a real fortune teller that was telling the truth, and this could be the ending of the show that we just heard. Egg's king, but he dies in a fiery death and worms feed on his corpse. Could that be the last shot of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms? I mean, what, 15 seasons down the road if Ira Parker's plan? Who knows? But I believe that the moment of their death should be the final closing shots of the show. You know, the ending should be the ending. You know what I mean? Or the final shots of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms should be the opening shots of Game of Thrones. You know what I mean? And we should see how Jaime Lannister killed the Mad King type of thing. But, you know, that depends how far they want to take this show and how many years they want to cross. But very interesting, that little scene of the fortune teller, but I actually have the clip of the fortune teller.
Say your fortune.
Oh, yeah. Go on then.
You shall know great success and be richer than a Lannister.
Thank you. Do the boy now.
You shall be king, and die in hot fire, and worms shall feed upon your ashes. And all who know you shall rejoice in your dying.
What?
Thank you, that's very good.
Why would she say that?
I love that Dunk just laughs and, "Thank you, that's very good, you scared the boy." You know, like, that's all he really wanted. But, like, who is this fortune teller woman? You know, like, she looks like she has this weird cloak on, but her eyes are, like, covered by shadows, so we really don't see her. So I wonder if she's going to come back later in the show, and maybe Egg will go up to her like, "Who the fuck are you? Why'd you say that to me?" Like, who knows? But then, you know, they keep going after talking to the fortune teller, and they bump into Raymond Fossaway, the other squire who was getting bullied by his cousin in episode 1 and who has now become a friend to Sir Dunk. And he invites him to come have some cider that they make themselves, even though Dunk wants to go see Tansel Tootal, but he goes for the cider because he doesn't want to be rude. And Raymond is talking to him inside the tent as they're drinking away cider, just the two of them. And he calls Prince Brightflame and the Targaryens incestuous aliens and goes on this huge rant, but I have a clip of this rant.
They're incestuous aliens, Duncan. Blood magicers and tyrants who've burned our lands, enslaved our people, dragged us into their wars with no respect for our history or our customs. Every pale-haired brat they saddled on us has been madder than the last. Gods know how. The only honourable thing a Targaryen can do for this realm is finish on his wife's tits. So I think he meant to kill the fucking horse.
Raymond Fossaway, Jesus! He's like, "Oh, the only thing a fucking Targaryen could do right is finish on his wife's tits," instead of continuing on the incestuous bloodline of inbreds here. And he's not wrong, but he's also a little hot. And he's like, "So I do think he killed the horseman." And and I thought this was hilarious. The Dunk just kind of, at the end of the clip, just kind of looks at him like, "Ooh, okay, somebody's got strong Targaryen opinions." Like, and the guy's just like, "Yep, well," and he like burps or something. He's like, "Sorry, had a little bit to drink." Like, but we cut back to Egg over at the puppet show, and Tansel is fighting a dragon, and the puppet looks really cool, but Bright Flame is there witnessing it all, and uh-oh, this isn't going to be good. And we cut back to Raymond and Dunk, and Raymond tells him about the 2 missing Targaryen boys that are sons of Maekars, and I believe he starts to talk about the 4 sons of Maekar, and he says Darren, the drunk, is the one we saw in the pub, and he's, I believe, the oldest. And then he says Aryan Brightflame, the ass, is the other son. The 3rd son, who he says got sent to the Citadel to become a Maester, which I believe is Maester Aemon, who we meet in Game of Thrones as an older man. That, I believe, is the 3rd son. And then the 4th and youngest son, I believe, is Egg. And just as Raymond Fossaway is mentioning the 4th and youngest son, Egg runs in and says, Aryan is hurting her. And Dunk's like, who? The puppet girl. And so Dunk springs into action and sees that Aryan has her, holding her, and he breaks her finger. So Dunk springs into action, punches the prince like 2 times, grabs him, slams him on the ground, and Aryan is on the ground like, why would you throw your life away for this whore? Right? Like, he's not even mad or hurt from Dunk. He's just kind of like, wow, who are you that you would go up against me for this whore? Like, wow. Like, he's more shocked by his actions than who this girl is. Like, he's already forgotten all about that. He's like, who's this big guy? Well, you loosened one of my teeth with that punch, so we'll take all of yours. And like 5 guys have to wrangle Dunk as he struggles, and they push him down, and they put his teeth on the edge of like a curb, and they're about to curb stomp all of Dunk's teeth out of his head. I was like, oh my god, what is about to happen? And as they're doing this, Egg runs in and says, stop, unhand him. And Dunk's like, shut up, boy. Shut your insolent mouth or they'll hurt you. And Egg says, no, they won't, or they will have to answer to my father. Let go of him. And Dunk turns around with shock on his face to find out that the true identity of Egg is Aegon Targaryen, one of Maekar's missing sons, and he feels played and like a fool, and like someone that he really cared for betrayed him by not telling him the truth and playing him this whole time. And and he really cared for Egg, and now he's like, just feels like an idiot. But Aryan says, what did you do to your hair? And Egg says, I cut it off because I didn't want to look like you, brother. And that's credits on episode 3 as we end on Dunk's face getting pushed in this slow shot as he's just like devastated by this news and just being like, wow, well, he just saved my life or saved my teeth. But I don't know if he would have necessarily died from that, but he certainly would have lost all his teeth if Egg didn't step in. So Egg, saves him for a moment, but he also lied to him. So he's like hurt, but he's also kind of like, come on, man, like, what? You made a fool of me. I'm no fool. I'm no fool. I'm not a sad, dumb idiot. I'm Dunk. I'm Sir Dunk the Tall. Like, ooh. But that's where we head to credits on episode 3. And in the trailer for next week, it looks like Dunk is going to have to answer for hitting a prince. And he's pissed at Egg and pissed at, all these so-called noble knights. But I have a trailer for the trailer for next week. And it's not too long. It doesn't show too much. So I thought it was a good one to include here. But here's the trailer for next week's episode.
I never meant to lie.
Yeah, but you did. About everything.
You laid hands upon the blood of the dragon. Aerion would like your head.
A trial of 7. What the fuck is a trial of 7?
You must find 6 other knights to fight beside you.
You may be wise to run.
Want to kill me if I run?
Want to kill you anyway.
Who will stand and fight with me? Has courage deserted the noble houses of Westeros? And there are no true knights among you!
Oh, that ending with Dunk there. Oh, man, it breaks my heart, though. Even the beginning of that clip where we see Egg in his Targaryen robes, and he's like, I didn't mean to lie. And he goes, but you did. You lied about fucking everything. And at the very, very end of that, I don't know if you guys saw it, it said it will be streaming Friday, not to collide with the Super Bowl Sunday and everything going on with Sunday. So episode 4 will drop, I believe, Friday night. So maybe my breakdown for episode 4 will be coming out on Saturday or maybe even Sunday, depending on when I can record the video. But but I figured probably come out Friday, you know, Saturday, right after the episode instead of waiting till Tuesday like the normal schedule I do. And if you guys want it on Tuesday, I guess comment, let me know. But in that trailer, I find it very interesting that he's going to have to answer for hitting Prince Arian, and Arian wants a trial of 7. And Makar's like, what the fuck's a trial of 7? We've never heard of this. And it seems that Dunk will have to get 6 other knights to fight alongside of him. I can only think of probably one that would join his side willingly, and that's Sir Lionel Baratheon, the Laughing Storm. And so he'll need, what, 5 more to fight alongside him? But it seems like at the end of that clip, maybe nobody he was able to get. And he goes, all you noble knights, are there none noble to stand next to me and fight? Are there no noble knights left? And he's like pissed, and he's on the back of a horse, and he's really delivering it like he is really angry. And I really wonder who is going to answer that call. And I don't think it's going to be somebody we expect. I think, you know, maybe it's going to look like it's going to be a 7-on-7 this whole time. Or maybe we will see that 7-on-7 and we'll see him go up against Arian Bright Flame. But I have a feeling maybe Bright Flame pussies out or something, maybe. Or maybe Dunk kills him and then has to answer a steeper toll, because I think he's going to go up against Baelor. Ooh, man. And the prince, or the heir to the Iron Throne, is going to go, I'm a noble knight. Don't you question my knighthood and my honor. So, yeah, I'll go up against you. And he goes up against Dunk, and Dunk either is going to have to die and lose by way of Baelor Targaryen, or he's going to have to win against the heir to the throne, which would then change the succession on who would be the prince, which would then lead into our boy Egg becoming king in the future through that fortune teller's fortune. I'm thinking that's going to be very, very much so correct. So that fortune teller also said Dunk was going to find very much success in this tournament, and he's going to be richer than a Lannister one day. So for him, I guess that is a great fortune. He will do fine in this tournament, and he's currently a broke hedge knight without a cent to his name, and he had to sell his horse just to pay for his armor, and, you know, he doesn't have a lot of coin at all. So for him to be richer than a Lannister, which Lannisters are the richest in the realm, Sir Dunk, man, what are you going to do with all your coin? Like, man. But I really, really have been loving this show so far. I would love to hear your thoughts on the show down in the comment section below, or if you'd like to send me your thoughts on my other social medias, links for those down in the description below. Thank you guys so much for making it this far. Oh, man. I can't even comprehend how much I'm loving this show and put it into real words for y'all, but I hope you guys are enjoying it as much as I have. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please comment down below, and if you've made it this far in the video and you would like to support the channel, the best way of doing that is dropping a comment in the comment section below, subscribing if you haven't already, hitting that bell so you don't miss episode 4 of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms breakdown. You get the notification when that comes out. Once again, my name's Big Cam. Thank you guys so much for sticking around this far, and I will see you Game of Thrones heads and A Night of the Seven Kingdoms nerds in the next video. Peace!